kind of woman that I could give a lot of gain. As much as you retire, love, well, maybe you don't have to ask. And I'd give you love. Hey, that's that jam. I'll buy your clothes. I would cook your...
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
Get it, Daddy.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
Big mama, my mama raised no dummies. I duck a rap.
if I can get a quickie in.
Yo. Peace, power, and prosperity to the village gang. You already know what to do when you come into the town square. Yo, some weird shit going on, dog. Super weird shit. Been seeing it for the past 2 days. Weird shit going on with my channel. Either way, we ain't here to play. Especially on any day that ends in the word day. Yo, you know, it's him, Slim Trim, and I'm built to win. I'm host TRIN, aka Flocko Fuerte, aka Granny's Baby, aka Numero Uno, aka the real McCoy that brings all the sweet ladies joy. Back again, once again, to hang with my families and my motherfucking friends from my ends to your ends. Y'all know it's a love thing. 365. 24/7 with an AK or a Mac 11. Decision where you go is hella heaven. Peace. Back with these mad Mondays, dog. Manic Mondays. Who said that? I think that was Couch that called it Manic Mondays already today. But peace, power, and prosperity, you already know how to do. Rolling on soon. Pull up the IG. Had a couple brain topics today. Not really brain topics, but just slow conversations today. Kicking it nice and easy. Slow strolling. Yeah. Hope everybody had a beautiful Monday today. Hope it was productive. Hope everything started off. You know what I mean? I hope it ends the same way. I hope it ends better. If it started shitty, hope it ends smooth. If it started smooth, hope it ends smoother. Tom, what's up, bro? Yeah, I'm definitely in the shadows. I'm definitely in the motherfucking shadows for real. Wake up. Definitely in the shadows. It be that way, dog. But I've been watching it for 2 days now. So. Am I surprised? Nah, I really appreciate the support. As usual.
So every time you get your fucking hand. Right. Say it with me. No. I'll grab your hand and you play me. Yeah. Hey, you get your fucking hands off me. I'm a comment. So every time you get your fucking hand. That's right. Say it with me. No. I'll grab your hand and you play me. Yeah. Hey, you get your fucking hands off me. I'm a comment. So every time you get your fucking hand. That's right.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good right there. Mob, what up? But he must be tired. He must have worked the 18-hour shift. And he tired, so he ain't functioning fully right now. He ain't really he ain't firing on cylinders right now. It's supposed to be a 3-wire. That's only a 2-wire right now. One of them, he missing the connection. Boy.
For those of you who don't.
Boy. Oh, I'm telling you, bro. I'm in trouble. I'm in YouTube trouble, bro. I'm telling you, dog. Some weird stuff going on right now. Weird stuff going on.
You preferred your pronouns to be
they and them.
they, them.
Okay.
So,
do you need me to explain how to use that?
nope, because I'm not going to. You preferred your pronouns to be
They and them.
they, them.
Okay.
So,
do you need me to explain how to use that?
nope, because I'm not going to.
Shit. Rest in peace to the sister Asata Shakur for show. Rest in peace, rest in peace, rest in peace. Rest in peace. Y'all know what Asata Shakur is? That's something you should definitely go look up. Definitely something you should go look up.
And I'm a real bad man, Emily. I'm not a hypocrite. That's why certain things bad man don't do.
What exactly has the bad man done to this point?
A bad man have a responsibility to see that the children in the community goes out and come in safe. A bad man in the community see to it that terrorists does not terrorize the community, rape the little school people them, terrorize the poor people them, rob you when you go to work from Monday till Friday, and the one money you have to come in to take care of the people them, then rob you and take it and go to shoot you, kill you. That is a responsibility. Dodos is a bad man, real bad man. Zeeks is a real bad man.
How do you know
Adams is a real bad man. Leng is a real bad man. Tone Youth a real bad man. Starkey, Copper, Rag in the whole of it have stand up as a real bad man. The people that protect Jamaica from terrorists are real bad man. Terrorists and bad man are two different things.
And Ninja Man ranks in that group?
Dan of all Dan Corgan, real bad man.
Alright, you about to jump into the show. Quick little spinny. And you rolling. You heard? Yo. Let's jump to the topic of tonight. You know, the name of the show is Nature versus Nurture. Something that we bring up here from time to time, but I feel like we need to peel some of the layers back on this one, you heard?
There's such a thing as human nature. born with certain talents and temperaments, that they're a result of evolution, just like our bodies, then there's got to be a way in which they play themselves out in the development of the brain. And of course, that information is coded in our genome, in our DNA. A key question is, how does our genetic makeup, our endowment, interact with our experience to make us who we are, in particular to make us what makes us different from one another? There are things in our genome that we all share. The vast majority of our genes are the same as every other human, and that's what's responsible for our unity as a species. But of course, we're not clones. People are different, and one can ask, how do we get different? The chapter on children, on the development of children, in my book, The Blank Slate, was probably the most controversial of the 23 chapters, even though there were plenty of hot buttons in that book, such as politics and violence and sex differences and discussions of rape and murder and war and liberal versus conservative ideologies. It was the chapter of children that really got people hot and bothered. And it came from reporting what have come to be known somewhat informally as the 3 laws of behavioral genetics. Now, psychology doesn't have laws the way physics has laws, but there are findings that are so replicable over so many studies of hundreds of thousands of people that they almost deserve to be called laws. The first law is that all behavioral traits are partly heritable. What does that mean? It means that some of the variation within a culture between one person and another, what makes Jason different from Sam, what makes Emily different from Jessica, comes from differences in their genes. How do we know that? Well, nowadays we can have people drool into tubes and look at their DNA, and we find that there are massive statistical correlations between our thousands of genetic variants and any trait that we try to measure. But way before there was that technology, still really in its infancy, there were powerful but simpler methods of establishing the effect of genes. For example, you could compare identical twins who share all of their genes and their environment with fraternal twins who share half their genes and their environment. If the identical twins are more similar to each other than the fraternal twins, it suggests that their greater amount of genetic overlap has a role. And there are many complications and asterisks and digressions that have been worked out over the decades, but the finding is pretty solid. Or for that matter, you could look at the special case of identical twins who are separated at birth and raised in different families, sometimes different continents. And the finding is that they are remarkably similar, not indistinguishable, but more similar than 2 people who even grow up in the same family. So the first law is that all traits are partly, not completely, but partly heritable. Second law of behavioral genetics turns up in study after study, whatever you choose to measure, whether it's personality, character, intelligence, habits, smoking, drug addiction, number of books that you read, amount of television that you watch, likelihood of getting into trouble with the law, that the effects of the genes are stronger than effects of families. In fact, often the effects of families are surprisingly small, indeed 0, by the time you're an adult. Now this people find mind-boggling, but here's the rationale behind it. Remember those identical twins that were separated at birth and brought up in separate families? And they're pretty similar because they have the same genes, even though they were brought up in different families. Okay, well now compare them to identical twins that were brought up in the same family. Now you might think, wow, well they should be really similar because not only do they share their same genes, but they also share the same parents, the same neighborhood, the same older siblings, the same younger siblings. So they should be much more similar. And the answer is they're not. In fact, in general, adopted kids who grow up in the same home are no more similar by the time they're adults than adopted kids who grow up in separate homes. All those years of growing up with those parents leave surprisingly little lasting stamp on your intellect and personality. Now, by the way, this is not to say that your culture doesn't matter. Culture.
You ever find yourself doing something that when you become conscious of what you're doing, you realize that, oh shit, this is the same shit my mother used to do, or oh damn, I picked this up from my dad, or I picked this up from my grandpa, I picked this up from my uncle, I picked this up from my grandmother. You ever do something and then they're like, oh shit. Happens to me from time to time.
It does matter, as we see in comparing, say, Manhattanites with indigenous people in the Amazon rainforest, or Papua New Guinea, or Bedouins. Culture obviously matters a lot. But if you were to switch the kids around in different families within the same culture, you find that there's surprisingly little effect.
Hate to interrupt. Wouldn't you prefer uninterrupted indulgence? Head to Fleet ad-free.
Connection between how the parent treated the kid and how the kid turned out. And they say, well, parenting obviously shaped them. But the problem is that unless you're looking at adoptive children and their parents, you have a massive confound. Namely, the parents give their children an environment. Parents also give children their genes. Unless you have adopted families, you can't tease them apart. And when you do tease them apart with adoptive households, you see that genes matter much more than families. So the fact that parents who talk more to their kids have kids who end up with better language skills, the fact that people who spank their kids end up with kids who are more violent, doesn't necessarily mean that talking to your kids makes them better at language. It might just mean that people who talk more have genes that make them more linguistic, and they pass those genes on to their kids. People who are violent to their kids are more temperamentally violent. Their kids inherit that temperament. They're more violent too. This is a massive problem in a lot of social science research, where if you don't take into account the genetic overlap, you can misattribute effects of heritability and falsely think that they're effects of parenting. This, by the way, is an insight that comes from a psychologist named Judith Rich Harris. She never had a university job because she was kicked out of graduate school for not fitting the stereotype of a psychologist. She ended up turning the field on its ear by calling attention to these very robust findings from behavioral genetics that people tended to ignore. Now, the first law is that all behavioral traits are heritable. The second law is that effects of genes are stronger than effects of families, which are often weak to zero. The third law is there's a lot of variation that is neither genetic nor familial. Now, people have a lot of trouble wrapping their heads around this because everyone thinks, oh, well, there's heredity, there's environment, the more heredity, the less environment, and vice versa. But actually, that turns out not to really be true. At least if you consider the environment to be something that you can really look at or measure, like the effects of families. Here's the finding. It's really not all that complicated. Let's go back to our identical twins who are reared together in the same household. Okay, they got the same DNA, genes are the same mother, same father, same older siblings, same younger siblings, same number of books in the house, same number of TVs in the house, same teachers, same everything. So they should be absolutely indistinguishable. They should be clones. Well, if you know a pair of identical twins, you know they're not indistinguishable. They have separate personalities. I know this intimately, having two identical twin uncles, Barry and Mark, who were more similar than people picked off the street at random, but no one in the family had any doubt which was which. They each had their personality, and that's true of all individuals. Well, that leads to a real puzzle that I think psychologists have not really thought through enough, which is, how can they be different? It's not their genes, it's not their environment, at least not anything stable about the environment, like who your mother is or what neighborhood you live in. It suggests to me that there is a massive effect of chance on the development of who we are. What do I mean by chance? Well, chance kind of embraces everything that we can't predict and measure. It could be chance events in the genome. New mutations happen with every baby, and when you have even identical twins who come from an egg splitting into two, there could be a mutation that develops in one fertilized egg and embryo, but not in the other. There are mutations that develop as in our bodies as we grow and develop that could be different in the two twins. There could be factors in brain development that the genes can't control down to the last synapse. It could be that growing axons in the brain of one twin zig on one day and they zag in the other. That could be random factors in development that you don't take into account when you just look at families, like who got the top bunk bed, who got the bottom bunk bed. Did one child get chased by a dog one day and the other one not, or get teased by his friends or picked on by a bully? All of these things seem to add up to make us who we are in a way that we could never really pin down in our own autobiographies, that we can never pin down in most scientific studies, but may have a huge effect in who we are.
I hope you're tracking what he's saying. So what we make when we talk about nature versus nurture, we make it real rudimentary, right? We make it really, really black and white, which fits when we're having fast conversations. But if we take it to that level that he's taking it to, he's taking it to a extremely deep level. He's peeling the onion all the way back, right? You're talking about genes, talking about even small, like even the tiniest experience with twins, right? When he brought up the twin explanation, even though they have the same parents, the same gene setup, the same households, which would be the nature, right? Which would be the it would be the nurture of the person, right? That those little things could show up in very small ways that we cannot readily identify. Hence the reason why he brought up the twins having two different personalities. They're gonna experience different things, regardless of how bonded they are, right? Regardless of how many similarities they have, they're gonna have a significant differences at the same time.
These are the three counterintuitive findings from behavioral genetics, again, massively replicable, that I tried to explain in the children chapter of The Blank Slate, with full credit to Judith Rich Harris, that I consider to be among the most interesting.
Hope y'all tracking. Girls, what's up? Girlie. We got another one pretty much on the same topic. And it's gonna be it's kind of a long ball conversation we're about to have. But I'm just doing these videos as segue points to chain it all together then. You heard? Let me turn on the speed on this one. Let me share. The twin one is crazy because you would think, because everything is so similar, that when it comes to behavior, when it comes to them expressing themselves as individuals it would still be the same. It'd still be basically two mirrors of each other, right? Because everything else is mirrored pretty much. You would think everything else on the other side would also be mirrored. Curly. When you said twins, it reminded me of the Menendez brothers. Share. All right, cool. Rolling.
Meet Lucky Lyle and Trouble Tim. Now, you might think they look a lot alike. That's because they're identical twins. But imagine them being raised in completely different environments. As adults, they turn out very differently. Lucky Lyle is a model citizen. He goes to work, pays his taxes, treats others well, and gets an education. Trouble Tim is on a different path. He robs banks, doesn't pay taxes, and gets his first prison sentence at the same time as Lyle gets his diploma. Their genes are identical, so it must be their separate environments that have made them so different, right? Well, there's more to it than that. Much more. We need to rewind a bit in time. You see, one of the great questions of humanity is, what makes us us? Early explanations had a hint of the supernatural about them. As the centuries whizzed by, science emerged and fought a tough battle to gain credibility. Eventually, social science emerged with the popular theory that our environment is what makes us us. Let's call this nurture.
Exactly, Kofa. Exactly. Now, we just talked, at that point, we comprehend that. Like, you know how some people be like, oh, yo, that's the black sheep. Remember that's the black sheep shit? But they be like, oh, that's the black sheep of the family. Nobody fuck with him. That motherfucker just different, crazy, loner. While everybody else is more family oriented, that's the loner. That's the rebel, the what they call it, impulsive, spontaneous. That's that one, right? Cool. M Love, what up, G? You already know. We've always heard about the black sheep, so it's always those one-off people. It's made like, I mean, it's gonna be a couple of them. When you talk about, like, if you talk about a family, if you look at from great granny to like you, right? You could probably find 2 out of each lot. Now, if you talk about granny's lot and grandpa's lot, you're gonna be like 4. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. But now when you talk about twins, it makes it even more complicated because you would think, right? Doesn't it put like a whole new spin on it? That's me. I'm the Kanye of my family. I'm definitely the one-off, G. Definitely the loner type. Definitely the one-off. Like, it's just the way it is. That's just the way it's always been that way, G. So we the loner gang, G. Rebel squad. But yeah, it fucks with you because you could see that in a normal setting. In a normal setting, it makes complete sense. But when he brought up the twins, though, that made it like shit. That did put a whole new spin on things, which brings it back to how important, right, nurturing is. How nurture could shape or tweak a part of your brain, which then tweaks a part of your personality, which then tweaks a part of your behavior. And you're a fucking twin, and y'all are just night and day to each other. So imagine not being twins. Imagine there's 4 of y'all, and let's say y'all all stair-stepped, right? So there's a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, right? They are all going to go through different experiences. They're going to be in different grades, especially when you look at the 10-year-old and the 4-year-old, right? They're never going to be in school together for real. That's 6 years different. They're never going to be in school together. So they definitely going to be separated in some sense, right? But when one is 18, the other one's 12, 13, 11, you dig it? So the experiences are going to be different. But by the time you're 18, you kind of already started cutting off the fat and trimming your personality up. Sort of, kind, in a sense. In a sense, you kind of like almost found yourself a little bit, in a sense. but you haven't fully grown into your final form. You kind of like trimming some fat, you get in there. I mean, you probably have your juvenile personality. You probably have like a juvenile sense of who you are, a juvenile frame of mind. So you probably have a juvenile behavior as compared to 18 being 45, right? But at 18, you think you know. At 18, all you have to do, all you have is your 18-year-old knowledge, right? Only knowledge you have is you from being from day zero being born to your 18th birthday. That's all the knowledge and information you have. So that's all you can live off and survive off. Everything else is going to be external advice, wisdom that's bestowed upon you, life lessons that you learn. Don't touch that because that's hot. Is that because she had a fatty don't mean that she, you know what I'm saying? Shit like that. You don't learn silly shit. You really don't get to your final form till way later on. But everybody at 18 is going to have different experiences in that household. They all are going to have different experiences up until that time. And even by the time you're 18 and let's say everybody moves out the house at 18 and you really start living on your own, from then on for sure, you're going to start having a whole different set of experiences. Because I doubt everybody's going to be living either in the same state or even in the same area. Because if they all go to college in different states, then they definitely live in a different life. Yeah, that age gap plays a major role when you get totally different setup. From now, yeah, yep. And then too, you ever hear parents say the first baby was the first kid was the one who pretty much got the brunt of it because they didn't know. Then the other kids just got the better versions of them as parents, shit like that, right? So the nature is just the nature, and that is going to be what it is, right? That's genetics, and you're going to be bald by 25, and motherfucking, you ain't gonna grow a beard. You short, you tall, you fat, you skinny. That's your gene pool shit. The nurture aspect is the real. What you say? Let's call that the. Well, I kind of think he alluded to when I think he called it the change or something like that. I think the word he used was change, but that's kind of like the X factor. That's the unexplained, right? That's the unexplained. You don't know. Nice goal. If y'all like hockey, I think the Bruins just scored. Bruins just scored on the Flyers. Second period. Bruins just hit him for one. So, Reaper. Yeah, so when we go back to looking at it so rudimentary and so black and white, we could see it plain as day. Right? Look at the behavior of some of these people that walk around, and I'm not gonna go there. I'm not going. But if you look at people's behavior, and sometimes from what household they come from, sometimes it makes you scratch your head. I put it like that, without putting names on bullets. Right? I leave. I think that's the smoothest way to say that. Tom, what you got, bro? He said, "I am the oldest kid. Parents were super strict. By the time Exactly. You get the brunt of it, and then they become better and better, and they trim off. They tend to learn and learn. Yep, I know exactly. Tom, you are absolutely on the mark, G. That's exactly what I'm saying. Is my soundboard working today? Let me know if y'all can pick up on these sounds because it was not working yesterday. I just hit it for like 10 seconds. Did y'all hear anything? Did y'all hear anything come out the soundboard? Probably not, huh? Tree Star MSG General Big Reaper is in the building. Nothing, right? I don't know what the fuck. I don't know why. It worked and it doesn't work. I have no clue. It routed earlier. It's been playing for weeks now since yesterday wasn't working. I have no clue what the fuck is wrong with this thing.
Bruh.
You need a connection, I guess. So you just heard that one. I don't know why the fuck this motherfucker, yeah, boy. God damn, it's always something with fucking StreamYard, bro. All right, bro, we rolling. Back to the topic. Oh, yeah, yeah. It wants me to use the tab to use the sound. I'm not running it through the fucking net. I'm not running the soundboard through the fucking internet, so I don't know why.
Undaunted, the biological sciences presented another theory. Genes, an unchangeable blueprint in you from birth, decides everything. Let's call this one nature. So, are we a product of our genes or of our environment?
Breakdown right there. Boop. 1 and 2. That's it, right? That's the basic explanation of it right there. Genes is nature. And it's the two words are so fucking easy to fuck up, man. I do it all the time and I gotta stop. When I think I gotta say something wrong, my brain tells me stop. And I gotta think about it, and then I know I fucked it up. StreamYard got beef with you. Dog, I'm telling you, dog, every single week it's something new. Every single week it's something new with StreamYard. They want to give you motherfucking these little add-ons and shit that nobody fucking asked for. But the baseline shit that's supposed to fucking work properly, they go completely away from that shit because it worked fine at one point. They go completely away from that shit. They give you all these fucking add-ons that you're not gonna fucking use. Because let me be honest with you. If we using StreamYard, we already got a whole setup running. Why would you change the baseline setup that we all were fucking using and going and taking care of our fucking business? Every add-on that we needed, we got it. Every fucking switchboard we needed, we got it. We did everything that we needed to do. You went and did a bunch of fucking bullshit and fucked up the baseline of it. The whole foundation got cracks in it now. But guess what? You want to give us a little bullshit like, you could add this right here. You could see this notification. I don't want that shit. It's fucking aggravating, dog. Nature's nurture's the big influencer. Yeah. I don't know if it's that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. To figure out which one is more influential. I don't think you're wrong. Damn, Flyers just came back and scored. Shit. Flyers up 2-1. If I had to guess, I would say yes. That nurture is something that constantly goes as to where your gene pool is kind of set. And whatever is inside your gene pool, like let's say you're going to be bald at 25, you have to wait from day 0 to 25 to actually see that gene actually take effect, if that makes sense. But your nurturing is something that even you could be 50 years old and still be you could still receive stimulus, stimulus would be your nurture, which then could change your mind, and then that could change your behavior. So yes. Yep.
The battle raged on. Observations in a newer field of study suggest that both are partly right. This field is called epigenetics. It means above genetics and has to do with how nature and nurture interact. At the heart of this discussion is one simple question asked by researcher Michael Meany. What makes a good rat mama? Well, for a rat mother, nothing says love and care like some nice, vigorous licking. The higher the number of licks, the more love and the better the mama. With this in mind, the researchers compared two groups of rat mothers, one that licked their babies a lot and another that didn't. They found that when babies grew up, they carried their mama's behavior with them and passed it on to the next generation and the next one, and so on. But could it simply be that this particular group of rats was genetically predisposed to produce caring mothers? Well, to test this, the researchers took newborn babies from low-licking mothers and fostered them with high-licking mothers and vice versa. It turns out that if the mother is a high licker, the rat baby becomes a high licker too, regardless of whether it's genetically related to her or not. So genes really don't have anything to do with it then? In true scientific fashion, the researchers dove right into the brains of these rats to see what, if anything, was different in the brains of the babies of high-licking versus low-licking mothers. When they looked at genes that possibly play a role in motherly care, they found crucial differences. Newborn rat babies have clusters of molecules called methyl groups attached to these genes. These methyl groups silence the gene, effectively switching it off. The researchers discovered that while the methyl groups in rats from low-licking mothers were still attached, in the rats from high-licking mothers, these methyl groups had disappeared. This was also true for the rats that had been adopted by high-licking rat mothers.
Tom.
Also true for the rats that had been adopted by high-licking rat mothers. Also true for groups had disappeared. This was also true for the rats that had been adopted by high-licking rat mothers. The care these rats received from their mothers actually physically altered their genetic expression. Now that's all fine and good for rats, but what about people? Well, the same is true for Lucky Lyle and Trouble Tim, and for you and me. The genes you're born with are the genes you've got. But lifestyle and environmental influences such as nutrition, exercise, smoking, stress, and love greatly affect your biology. These changes can actually be observed at the DNA level. The bright side is that epigenetic changes happen throughout our lives, and our choices can make real differences in how we develop as human beings.
Now let me show you something else. There's a documentary out right now. It's old as shit. It's called Blackfish or Blackfin. I think it's Blackfish though. Yes, it's Blackfish. And it's about the orcas at SeaWorld. There's this one orca that was captured. It was taken from his mom, caught. I think it was it's caught in Canada? Well, fuck it, that's not important. It was about the killer. Yes, exactly, Tom. Yeah, yep. So they took the killer whale. It was a dude. Yeah, it was a dude. It was a male killer whale baby. Took him, transplanted him, put him inside the tank, raised him up, whatever the case was. Yes, yeah. That's what I'm about to explain right now. That's what I'm about to explain right now. So what happened was when he was growing up, before he was fully grown, there were adult fully grown female orcas in the tank. So what the female orcas did, because Tillicum, that's exactly his name, G. That's exactly the whale's name. So what happened was the female orcas abused them pretty much. They bit him, bullied him, took food, the whole setup, the whole nine. Pretty much, they bullied him, right? They try to put him in the frat, so they hazed him, right? Like we was watching earlier. Lo and behold, he's grown now, so they can't fuck with him now because now he's fully grown. But psychologically, he's fucked off, right? He's fucked off psychologically because first of all, he got ripped from his mom, and if you see how they really do that shit, it's pretty much terrorism, right? Transported, put there, then being a young, I think they call them bulls. Young killer will call bulls? Whatever, that's not important. You see how my brain be drifting? He got abused, mistreated, hazed inside the tank. Now he's fully grown. What the fuck you think type of shit he on? He on wrecking shit, right? He's strapped in, exactly. God, did they score again? I don't think they scored again. I think it's just a replay. Yeah, they didn't score again. It's a replay. So he takes his trainer one day. I think it was the female. He bodied her first body. I think he tried to. I think he was played like a death game with one of them. Like he pulled one down to the bottom, held him there, and let him go pretty much with enough oxygen so they can make it back to the top. Some crazy shit was going on. But pretty much what happened was, because he's a male, instead of having to go through the process of putting him in a pen, because at this point he's dangerous. At this point he's yeah, exactly. The chick was the first one, right? Yeah, and then the dude is the one he played with. He kept on pulling him down. So this Tillicum is on a Looney Tune shit. So what they did was, instead of putting him in pens, because he's pretty much nuts at this point, they just did like the how they do that, where they drain the man sauce from him, right? Freeze it. And what they did was they did it the artificial way to make more, so that now they can make more killer whales in captivity. You're be more in the building. What up, Savette? So what happened was now they can make more killer whales in captivity with his special sauce. But now all his kids, but because his trauma was so fucked up growing up, and what the shit that happened to him was so fucked up, he stained his DNA pattern to all his kids turn out to be fucking killers. All them trainers and all that shit, I believe all them trainers that end up getting murked at all them SeaWorlds, whatever the case was, I think all of them came from his sack. Real talk. I'm pretty sure that's what I gathered from the documentary. I think all those murders that happened there, he became, yes, but look what we're talking about too. Epigenetics, right? He stained his DNA. So whatever comes out of him is wrecking shit. Down the line, so his kids were about that life, but they never experienced that life. He experienced it and stained in his DNA. Now we're still talking about mammal species, right? But this is a mammal species that's what? Aquatic. It swims in the ocean. It has the same type of it has higher communication capabilities than humans, in a sense, if we're talking about animals. But they're the most intelligent and the apex predator of the ocean. Just as the way humans on land are the apex predators when we have our tools. Because if we don't have tools, we're not apex to fucking nothing, to be honest. A honey badger will take you out. So when we have our tools, we become apex predators. Because pretty much on land, because we have the thing between our ears, we were able to invent things to make us become apex, right? Cool, whatever. Shit happens. The same thing, what we do in our life experiences and our energy and our negativity and our positivity, we could stay in our own DNA. And we could produce our own fucked up shit. That's why they talked about the rats. Remember the rats, the loving rats and all the other shit, the loving rats tend to attach things to the DNAs, and the kids end up having it in DNA, all that good shit, right? Look how the mammals did it, the rats did it, and how we do it. It's a real thing. Yeah, also the apex predator. That fucking tongue got mental issues, bro. They keeping them in captivity keeping them in cap. Yeah, because they can't swim. They can't swim like. It's just a whole fucked up thing, though. I don't fuck with it. Like once I saw Blackfish, I stopped supporting SeaWorld and all that shit. Swear it down. I stopped fucking with them. There's a group of tearing up boats. They back at it again? I know they was doing it last year. I know they did it last year in the Mediterranean. They did it in the Mediterranean, and it was some other spot they caught them doing it. It was two places that they caught them doing it last year. The Mediterranean was one of them, I believe. What's the other one? It's somewhere cold as shit. Yeah, and they back tearing up boats. But yeah, just think about it on a different note. Like take the second. I keep telling us sometimes we got to take the second thought. Right? We do it. There's proof that one killer whale did it. Right? So imagine what really happens if the rat could do it, we could do it, and the killer whales could do it. Yo, Father, what you're saying? Young Chris, come true. I separate them from the majority of the life is zero, and they keep social creatures. Yeah, they highly yeah, it fucks them up bad. There's a gang 25 going to war to see last month. So them of us is the apex killers, bro. But I'm glad we got those two vids out the way so y'all kind of see the line that we walk in. About to jump into the next video real quick. It's a chain. It's a chain conversation. It's chain thought, right? We're moving on to the next one. Yo, let me load this up, take a quick spin. We'll be right back here. Yo. And we back at it. Hope everybody's enjoying their Monday. Hope it was productive. Hope they got their shit done and they're ready to tackle the rest of the week. And if we're not talking about the week, cool. Let's just talk about tomorrow. We're ready to tackle tomorrow when tomorrow comes. Yeah.
Talk about mental illness and gender, mostly because I received an email from famous patron Lyndon. I don't know if I have much to say about it, but then I did some research and I discovered, as usual, I have a lot of things to say about it. So before moving forward, I just want to ask you a few questions. I want you to think about something. I want you to picture in your mind a depressed human being. That person is depressed, they're crying all the time, or maybe they just lack motivation and they're not crying all the time. They're down, they have a hard time getting up to go to work, they frequently have low self-esteem. Okay, now freeze that person in your mind. Is that person a man or a woman or some other gender? What gender do you picture in your mind? Now, for some of you, you're going to be thinking about a woman, and for some of you, you'll be thinking about some other gender. So I want you to think about that. Now, think about someone with, and just free associate with me on this. Think about someone with schizophrenia. Someone has schizophrenia. They're hallucinating. They're talking to themselves. They are, they have disorganized thoughts. They might be hospitalized. They might even be homeless. Okay. Is that person, what gender is that person? Okay. Now picture someone who has antisocial personality disorder. They commit a lot of crimes. They're violent. They manipulate other people. Okay. What gender is that person? Now think about someone with an alcohol problem, someone who drinks every night or every day, all day. What gender is that person? Now, some of you might be saying, well, I don't know. I don't really attribute either gender. But some of you might be thinking, well, actually, when I think of someone with an alcohol problem, I think of this sort of gender. Okay, now think of a kid in school, 10 years old, with ADHD. That person has been diagnosed with ADHD. Is that a boy or a girl or some other gender? Now, for some of you, you'll have definite genders that you'll assign to these disorders. And for some of you, you won't. I don't know. But the question I have is, why do we have a bias about particular disorders? Is it accurate? Are some disorders more likely to be present in one gender or another? Or, and just at the caveat moving forward, I'm already sort of realizing that this entire episode is going to be gender binary. The research and the literature is 99.99999% based on gender binary language. And so I'm not going to be talking about trans people. I'm not going to be talking about gender fluid people, queer people. It's going to be based on men and women because that's the data I have available to me. And I'm guessing in another 20 to 30 years, we'll have more data, better data regarding trans and non-binary gender-related mental illness facts. So I apologize for that on behalf of my industry. Okay, so now why is it that some disorders are associated with men and some are associated with women? Is that accurate? Are there gender differences? And if there are gender differences, why are there gender differences? Well, that's what I want to talk about today. I'm going to provide some data, some facts regarding different diagnoses and the prevalence rates between men and women. I'm going to talk about some of the challenges to research. I'm going to talk about why. So long story short, in a nutshell, there are differences when they study men and women between different mental illnesses. Some are more prevalent among men, some are more prevalent among women. And so I'm going to talk about why that would be: cultural reasons, biological reasons, and clinician reasons. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Welcome to the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and I'm also a professor. This episode is just for patrons of the podcast. So if you're listening to this and you're not a patron of the podcast,
Who in here thinks that there is a difference? Look over, say, back on me, back on me. Who thinks that there is a difference? Is there a difference because I'm a male? I might be more susceptible to this type of mental illness, as to we're logical, the beautiful, talented, and intelligent, because she's a woman, right? She's susceptible to having these type of mental illnesses. Now there's many that will overlap, or few that will overlap. But are there mental illnesses that are more prevalent in women versus are there ones that are prevalent in men? Who believes that there's a difference? It was. Yep, that's true. Danny boy. We got one yes. Good enough for me.
Men and women. Well, how do they differ? Well, the first thing we might observe is that if you look at personality differences between prepubescent boys and girls, they're not very large. Boys and girls don't differ in terms of their trait neuroticism, for example. What happens is that when puberty kicks in, women's trait neuroticism rises, and it stays higher than men for the rest of their life. And this is why you see this reflected in the different kinds of psychopathology that beset the two sexes. So men are overrepresented in alcoholism, drug abuse, antisocial personality, and a host of learning disorders, as well as attention deficit disorder. And women are overrepresented in depression and anxiety, primarily. That seems to be tightly associated with higher levels of trait neuroticism, because maybe it's, if you're at the 95th percentile or higher, let's say, in trait neuroticism, there isn't much difference between that and being somewhat prone to depression and anxiety. And because the curves overlap, the curves aren't identical. The normal distributions aren't identical for men and women. You tilt the one to the right, the women's curve to the right towards higher levels of neuroticism. You go out and you look for the person in 20 who has the highest levels of negative emotion. It's much more likely to be female than male. Okay, so let's see if we can figure out why. So we're going to tell you some things, basic differences between men and women, and you can tell me what you think about it if you agree or disagree. Okay, first, size differential emerges between men and women at puberty, right? Because boys and girls are roughly the same size and roughly the same strength, but men get bigger at puberty when the testosterone kicks in. And more importantly, not only do they get taller and heavier, but their upper body strength is much higher. And that's a real issue for combat, because human beings punch. There's other animals that do that. Kangaroos do that too, eh? So we're not the only people that punch, but we have clubs on the ends of our arms. And so that's how we defend ourselves. And so if you have a lot of upper body strength, especially across the shoulders, and you're heavier, then you can step into the punch and it's a lot more devastating. Now, it is the case that if you look at the statistics for physical altercations in marriage, women attack their husbands more often than husbands attack their wives. Well, you think, why is that? Well, let's assume that there isn't any reason other than both people in a relationship can get upset, and the women know that if they hit their husbands, nothing's really going to happen, right? Because if you're if you're a woman about that high and your husband is, say, my height, unless you hit me with an object or something that's sharp, the probability that you're going to do me any serious damage is pretty low. You might hurt me. But if I do the reverse and hit you, and I really hit you, and so the reason, at least one of the reasons why women can be more physically aggressive in minor ways in a relationship is because everyone knows, the wife and the husband equally, that the consequence of the physical aggression is much more limited. So men do more serious damage to women, but women are more aggressive in relationships. So that's interesting. So, okay, so there's a body size difference that's important, a strength differential that's important. Next thing, I think, so let's assume that the reason that women are higher in sensitivity to negative emotion is because the world is actually more dangerous to women, right? Because that would be the most logical reason why there would be a sex difference in something like fear or sensitivity to punishment.
He's about to make this so simple. His name is Jordan Peterson. He does this all the time. I haven't seen this one, right? But I've seen him talk about a lot of things. He just breaks it down really, really simple. He's really good at what you call reading the room, right? And knowing the audience and bringing it to the audience level.
Well, first, there's the danger of physical altercation. Second, there's the sexual danger. So women become sexually vulnerable at puberty. And why do I say vulnerable? Well, it's straightforward. It's because the cost of sex for women is way higher than it is for men, and it certainly has been throughout our evolutionary history. Because if a man has an unwanted sexual encounter, well, then he walks away and maybe he's persecuted by the state or prosecuted by the state for it. But if a woman has an unwanted, unwarranted, or incautious sexual encounter and she ends up pregnant, then, well, in traditional societies, you're just done. And even in modern societies that are rich like ours, I don't have to go into that. It's big trouble. No matter what you do about it, it's big trouble. So being more nervous about that makes perfect sense. But then here's the last thing. And I think that women's nervous systems are not adapted to women. I think women's nervous systems are adapted to the mother-infant dyad. Because you are not the same creature when you have an infant. Not at all. You're way more vulnerable. And it's partly because you have to express the vulnerability of the infant, and you also have to care for it, right? So you think about an infant, especially under 9 months. So let's say, how are you going to be wired up if you're going to optimally care for an infant under 9 months? And I'm saying under 9 months because women generally do the bulk of childcare for infants who are under 9 months old. And part of the reason for that, there's a whole host of reasons, but part of the reasons for that, obviously, is that they breastfeed. But imagine what you need to be wired up biologically in order to care for an infant. First of all, they're very demanding, right? Because they're completely helpless, and they're demanding 24 hours a day, and it's quite a emotional load. And an infant under 9 months is never wrong, right? What you do to an infant under 9 months is when they're in distress, you always respond. You never tell the infant, get your act together and stop whining, right? Which you can do, say, to a child that's 18 months old. You can start having that sort of conversation. But under 9 months, it's like nothing is the infant's fault. It's surrounded in an extraordinarily threatening world. And you have to be responsive to what it needs, regardless of what you want, and you have to be very sensitive to the threats that emerge in the environment. And so I think the price that women pay for that ability to have an intimate relationship with infants in the very earliest stages of development is that their nervous systems are actually wired so that they can perform that role optimally. And the disadvantage to that is that having a temperament like that doesn't work that well when you're dealing with adult men, especially when you're dealing with them in a business environment, because it's not the same thing. Not at all. It's a competitive environment. So, okay, so agreeable people are compassionate and polite. What are disagreeable people like? They're tough-minded, they're blunt, they're competitive, and they won't do a damn thing they don't want to do. So it isn't exactly that they're aggressive, although they will push you the hell out of their way if you're in the way. They're not like volatile like you are if you're high in neuroticism. It isn't defensive aggression. It's more like predatory aggression. It's dominance behavior. And so for someone who's highly disagreeable, they look at the world as a place in which they can compete and win. And I'll tell you a story. I have a friend. I gave him my personality test, the Big 5 aspect scale that Colin DeYoung developed in my lab. And I knew he was a disagreeable guy, and by interacting with him. I mean, he's even rude to people sort of spontaneously on the street. I actually like him quite a bit. He's very, very funny. He's also very conscientious, so you can trust him, but he's disagreeable as hell. And so I gave him this test because I thought it would be funny, and he came out as the most disagreeable person in 10,000. So reasonable in compassion, about 30th percentile, but like 0.001 in politeness. So he's extraordinarily blunt. He'll just say absolutely anything, no matter how horrible it is. And he was often brought into corporations to sort of clean them up. So if a corporation was tilting and not doing well, they'd bring him in to find out who the useless people were and fire them. And I talked to him about that because I've had the missed opportunity to have to not have graduate students in my lab, for example, that weren't performing well. And I find it very, very difficult to, dress someone down, and certainly difficult to fire them. I just hate it because I'm actually quite an agreeable person, much to my chagrin. And I asked him about that, and I said, well, what do? You have to fire people all the time. How do you handle that? He says, handle it? I enjoy it. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting that someone would have that response. I said, well, what do you mean you enjoy it? He said, look, I go into these companies and I analyze the performance of groups of people, right? And in those groups, there are people who are really striving, really trying hard and working themselves really hard and being productive. And then there's these people that are just doing nothing. They're completely in the way. They don't carry their weight at all. They take advantage every chance they get. And they're always whining about why they can't work. It's like, I find out who they are. I call them into my office and I tell them exactly what they've been doing. It's like, hit the road, buddy. You've had your run of it. And I thought, oh yeah, okay, fair enough. Well, I can tell you, I've had situations in my lab where I had underperforming graduate students. And one of the things that was really awful about that was that it was really hard on the high-performing graduate students, because they felt that even being in the same category as the people who weren't working hard and pulling their weight devalued what they were doing, and that's exactly right. And so this is also why there's a conscientiousness trait and an agreeableness trait. Because conscientious people judge you on your accomplishments, right? They don't give a damn about your feelings, not a bit. It's like, are you doing the work or not? Whereas agreeable people think, well, you know, your mother's sick and, you know, you've got a bunch of family problems and we all have to take care of each other and it's no wonder that you're having a rough time. And like, you can't say that one of those attitudes is correct and the other isn't correct. You can't say that. There wouldn't be those two dimensions if there wasn't something correct about both of them. But you can certainly point out that often they conflict, you know, and so the demand for inclusiveness and unity and care and the demand for high-level performance in a hierarchical structure, they're very different orientations in the world. And so it's complicated for people who are agreeable and conscientious. And actually, I think often that large corporations and large institutions of any sort run on the unheralded labor of people who are high in agreeableness and high in conscientiousness, and they're disproportionately women. My experience in large institutions has been that if you want to hire someone to exploit appropriately, no, not appropriately, if you want to hire someone to exploit productively, you hire middle-aged women who are hyper-conscientious and who are agreeable, because they'll do everything. They won't take credit for it and they won't complain. And that's nasty. And I think that happens all the time. And so one of the things you have to be careful of if you're agreeable is not to be exploited, because you'll line up to be exploited. And I think the reason for that is because you're wired to be exploited by infants. And so that just doesn't work so well in that actual world. And one of the things that happens very often in psychotherapy, you know, people come to psychotherapy for multiple reasons, but one of them is they often come because they're too agreeable. And so what they get is so-called assertiveness training, although it's not exactly assertiveness that's being trained. What it is the ability to learn how to negotiate on your own behalf. And one of the things I tell agreeable people, especially if they're conscientious, is say what you think. Tell the truth about what you think. There's going to be things you think that you think are nasty and harsh, and they probably are nasty and harsh, but they're also probably true. And you need to bring those up to the forefront and deliver the message. And it's not straightforward at all, because agreeable people do not like conflict. Not at
all. He ain't no joke, dog. He ain't no joke, bro. There's some of his lectures I have to no shit stop and get a dictionary. No shit. Some of his lectures is get a dictionary, man, because you about to be sitting there for a minute. Some of them are just like this. It's very, very lamented in vocabulary. Very easy to comprehend, very easy to grasp. The concepts are broken down, Barney style, right? That pretty much anybody that is 21, 18 could get it, right? Anybody with a functioning mind could get it. He's a dog, man.
all. They smooth the water, you know, and you can see why that is in accordance with the hypothesis that I've been putting forward. You don't want conflict around infants. It's too damn dangerous. You don't want fights to break out. You don't want anything to disturb the relative peace, you know. And if you're also more prone to being hurt physically and perhaps emotionally, you're also maybe loath to engage in the kind of high intensity conflict that will solve problems in the short term, because it takes a lot of conflict to solve problems in the short term. And you know, if that can spiral up to where it's dangerous, which it can if it gets uncontrolled, it might be safer in the short term to keep the waters smooth and to not delve into those situations where conflict emerges. The problem with that is it's not a very good medium to long-term strategy, right? Because lots of times there are things you have to talk about because they're not going to go away. And so partly what you do with agreeable people is you get them to figure out, and they have a hard time with this too. If you ask a disagreeable person what he wants, say, or she wants, they'll tell you right away. They know. It's like, this is what I want and this is how I'm going to get it. But agreeable people, especially if they're really agreeable, are so agreeable that they often don't even know what they want, because they're so accustomed to living for other people and to finding out what other people want and to trying to make them comfortable and so forth, that it's harder for them to find a sense of their own desires as they move through life. And that's not, look, there's situations where that's advantageous, but it's certainly not advantageous if you're going to try to forge yourself a career. That just doesn't work at all. So
easy peasy, lemon squeezy, right? Yeah, he's a dog. He's a complete dog. I got his book, actually. It's right here on my coffee table. I got his book. He don't play. He's extremely good orator, bro. Extremely good. There's no, to me, the way I was raised, right? The way I think, I see things when it comes to gender, I see it in a scientific form, right? I see it being very scientific. I see it as XX and I see it as XY. I see those. He been He been, you know, they try to fuck him over bad. They try to fuck him up bad, bro. I think it was was it England? No, it was Canada that tried to fuck him over. And he's Canadian too, if I'm not mistaken. I think Canada was ones that went at him. But I see things very scientifically. XXXY. I see things as male, and I see things as female, as the same way it represents itself across the board when it comes to plants and animals. So I see the same thing with us. It's just, to me, it's just that plain. And somebody's gonna be like, well, there's like these animals yes, of course, but that's not the majority of animals. That's not the majority of creatures. So stop. Stop talking about the 1% of fucking things. Stop. Grow the fuck up. Stop. It was Canada, right? Yeah, I think it was Canada too. Try to basically ran down on him for his theories and theses and his theology, pretty much. And he didn't back out. He didn't back out at all. He didn't back out at all. And that kind of made him, to me, in my eyes, that kind of made him, what you call it, plateau. Same thing with Candace, right? When they tried to take Candace out, right? They tried to take out when she was at Daily Mail with Shapiro on them. No, she came out like really like a phoenix from the ashes, because she was done nada, right? She was supposed to be spoken for, stick a fork in it, wrap that shit up, right? They're done, son. They're fucking done, like your girl Tiffany, and we're done. We're out of here. We're done. No, she came back with that force. She can't turn on the red button and not have over 100K in the room watching. Real talk. She turned on that button, it's 100K in there hanging out. So shout outs to her, man, for overcoming. I like to see people who overcome shit like that. I really do. It's a testament to dedication, a testament to locking in. Oh, Boston scored. It's 2-2. Tied. They tied with the Philadelphia Flyers. So yeah, I do enjoy seeing people overcome, especially when they get pressed down, to actually when they have to change their stance or how they think or their values that they hold or their religious beliefs or their religious convictions and all that. When people double down and stand firm and actually cement themselves and where they're at, I think that, and then they overcome, right? Because the people who actually have that same framework of mind, but probably don't have that platform or that microscope on them, or that the theater lights is not on them. They're not on the main stage at that time. They come out and they support them. And people from the other side that possibly don't agree with a fucking thing that they say, see it for what it is and say, you know what? I support it, because guess what? When I stand up and I say what I need to say for my people, for my religion, for mi gente, mi corazón, whatever it is you want to stand up for, right? Political belief, whatever it is, you want to have that same one, the same right? And two, selfishly, you want that same support for you. You want that same support from your people to ride for you and bolster you in the heat of the battle. So I absolutely tip my hat to people that that go through that tundra and persevere, dog. Big salute to you. I'm a small fry in the game, and if you hear this message, keep on pushing. I think about things really, really black and white when it comes to this type of stuff. Men and women are completely different when it comes to, not cognitively though. Cognitively, we're pretty much the same. So let me clarify that before I jump ahead of myself and say too much, or I misspeak. Before I misspeak, cognitively we're the same, but we're extremely, extremely different in reality, right? If you look at the yin and the yang, just simply look at the yin and the yang, and that's the perfect explanation to me, right? You have the white teardrop side, right, of the yin and the yang, and inside of it there's the black dot, which means that inside of the white there is some of the black, right? And then when you have the black side, it's completely black, but in the black, the dot is not white, which is meaning inside of the black there is also some white. So it's not that they're is that they're different in mass, but they're similar in something. But together they complement each other so well that they form the perfect circle. When you have a circle, you have rotation and 360 motion. So it shows evolution and revolution at the same time. And I hope that was the clearest explanation ever. And I'm moving on. Which one is this one? Okay, we got one more topic about psychology, and then after that we got the real video to close out the night. We're gonna talk about another psychology thing. And then by the time we get to the last video, y'all kind of see where the chain is starting. Y'all see the whole chain, and we wishing each other good night and best wishes for Tuesday. So let's run it. You heard? Quick little spin. Let me prep it up. We'll be back at it. Yo, we back at it. About to play this video right here. This video is it's about the 3 most common psychological issues, right, that we face. I can't remember if this one splits it between men and women. Can't remember, but it's about the 3 most common mental illnesses that's out right now. I think this one splits it between men and women. Not completely sure. Either way, we rolling. Second to last video right here, gang.
Introduction. Humans respond to stress, loss, and adversity in a variety of ways. Many of us have experienced low mood and spirits when faced with a difficulty or a loss. We may lose our sleep, appetite, and may not feel like socializing or meeting people. This change in behavior is a normal human reaction to a stressful situation.
I like using these cartoon videos, right? Because it takes a whole lot of, it brings across the message with this motherfucker here, boy. I don't know what he did what tonight, G. I like using the more, not comical, but the animated. That's the word for it. I like using the animated cartoon type videos because they bring across the point, but they bring across the point in a lighter way, as to where when you watch hard hitting videos, you tend to recognize yourself watching another human. So it comes across a little bit sharper, but with these, it comes across a little not as sharp. It doesn't come across as sharp. Fuck it. That's the word we're going with.
As such, a state is transient and goes away in a couple of days. But if symptoms such as low mood, hopelessness, changes in appetite, sleep patterns, loss of interest in hobbies, anhedonia, feelings of guilt persist for more than 2 weeks, and negatively affect our social, domestic, and occupational functioning, then it is no more a normal reaction, but a pathological one, and may merit a concern for clinical depression. Major depression is extremely common among various societies, and despite being a treatable illness, goes largely undiagnosed due to its insidious nature, and the stigma attached to its diagnosis and seeking treatment. Case for urgency. According to the International Global Burden of Disease Study, major depressive disorder, MDD, is the 3rd leading cause of the years lived with disability, YLDs, which can be described as years lived in less than ideal health in Pakistan and globally. The socioeconomic burden of mental illness in Pakistan is tremendous, of which MDD contributes significantly and was estimated to be approximately $4,264 million in the year 2006, according to recent estimates carried out in Pakistan. Severe forms of clinical depression often translate into suicides. According to a report published in 2014, every 40 seconds a person commits suicide. For every person who commits suicide, there are 20 people who attempt ending their lives. Mental illness at large and major depression is particularly posed a public health challenge, which calls public health policy institutes and governments to take appropriate steps. Diagnosis, signs, and symptoms. Major depressive disorder is diagnosed on the basis of a set of 9 symptoms formulated in the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual, DSM-5, in their context. 5 or more of the 9 symptoms, including at least one of depressed mood and loss of interest or pleasure in the same 2-week period, and each of the symptoms represent a change from previous functioning. These symptoms include depressed mood, subjective or observed. Irritability is more common in teenagers. Loss of interest of pleasure, change in weight or appetite, insomnia or hypersomnia, psychomotor agitation, observed, loss of energy or fatigue, feelings of worthlessness or guilt, impaired concentration or indecisiveness, thoughts of death or suicidal ideation and attempt. If there is depression resulting in significant clinical impairment but not meeting the above criteria for major depression, then it is termed as adjustment disorder with depressed mood. This occurs within 3 months following a stressful life event and does not persist for 6 months after the termination of the stressor. If there are depressive symptoms occurring within 2 months of the death of a loved one, then it is considered as normal grief. If symptoms persist beyond 2 months, then a diagnosis of major depression needs to be explored. Severity. Major depression can be mild, moderate, or severe. In mild depression, despite the symptoms, functioning would still be preserved. In moderate depressive,
I'm about to speed up a little bit. Let me know if y'all could track or not.
illness, the different facets of functioning would be markedly impaired. Whereas in severe major depression disorder, one may experience and act on suicidal thoughts.
It sounds clear enough. We're good. We're rolling.
In very severe forms, one may even experience hallucinations and delusions accompanying the mood symptoms, which is termed as major depression with psychotic features.
Hi there, I am Wally. You may be wondering what I'm doing here. Well, let me start again. I am Wally and I am autistic. For those of you who are not familiar with this term, autistic is a person who suffers from a neurobehavioral condition called autism. But what exactly is autism? Well, it can be a tricky question because autism can be a lot of things. This condition is now being referred to as autism spectrum dysfunction because of its variety and diversity of symptoms. Quite possibly, my autism may be different from another autistic, and that his or her autism may also be different from another autistic, and so on. However, there are 3 basic symptoms that are observed in all types of autism. Social interaction challenges, deviant responsiveness and difficulty in communication, cognitive dysfunction and insensitivity or oversensitivity to certain stimuli including sight, hearing, smell, taste and touch, tendency to engage in repetitive behavior throughout life on a daily basis. It may involve pacing, head rocking and hand flipping, etc. Now, let me evaluate myself according to these symptoms. I've never felt comfortable in social circles. I don't go out with friends or in gatherings, even though I have nothing else to do, and usually I feel out of place and panic in social gatherings. So, first symptom, check. I have trouble assessing how my words or actions will affect the other person psychologically. I have a really bad reputation for being blunt, and quite frankly, I have no idea why my words can hurt people. Most people tell me that I don't respond when I'm spoken to. I know that they're talking to me, but I feel a lot of background noise, which makes it hard for me to focus on one point during conversations with multiple stimuli involved. Along with that, sometimes I cannot assess the hidden meanings in conversations. For example, if I'm asked to take my seat, I would pick up my seat and ask, where to? So, second symptom, check. Since my childhood, I have a strong tendency for head rocking side to side. It calms me down. I have these episodes daily and quite often multiple times in the same day. So third symptom, big check. Enough about me. Let's go through some important facts about autism. Autism is known to affect 1 in every 60 individuals, with boys at 5 times more risk to be autistic than girls. Quick question. Do you think the dominance of autism in males has something to do with their gender, more specifically with the Y chromosome? What causes autism is still unknown. It is believed that a cocktail of genetic, environmental, and psychological factors contributes towards autism. Autism is broadly divided into 3 major types. Classical or Kanner's autism, often referred to as severe autism. This type usually covers the low-functioning autism. In this case, autistics have the same but more severe symptoms, along with certain other developmental disorders, a very low IQ, loss of cognition, speech, antisocial behaviors, and mental retardation in extreme cases. Asperger's syndrome, also called as high-function autism, tends to have the basic symptoms, but
it's a real fucking word. We use it at work, but for some reason it's flagged in social settings. It's like probably contextually, but that don't make sense anyway because he just said mental. I don't fucking comprehend.
with low severity, so that the individuals suffering from it have a very good chance of a normal life. Asperger's syndrome has known to be associated with high levels of IQ, with individuals that may lag in certain daily races of life, but are super smart at stuff that appears to be very difficult for smart but non-autistic individuals. These excellency may include problems in science, art, math, and music, to name a few. Can you imagine someone who got the highest score in SATs twice, but can't ride a bicycle properly, and gets confused in easy tasks, like opening a push or pull door? The third type, also known as pervasive development disorder.
That's the joint buddy from. It's the show with the boy that's a he's not a boy, my bad. It's the dude from Bates Motel. He played as a doctor in a series. The good doctor or good doctor. He had that shit. No, that's the other dude. Oh, Sheldon has it too. Oh, Sheldon has that. I know Sheldon is the dude from Big Bang Theory. Yeah, Sheldon is the dude from The Good Doctor. Yeah, that's him. That's the dude from Bates Motel and Good Doctor. Sheldon is the dude from Big Bang Theory. I watched a couple episodes and it's kind of funny, but I only watched it for the blonde chick. What's her name? Kukos? Kelly Kukos. When she was thick, she was something to talk about. Now that she done lost all that weight on that OZ pack, she don't look to me personally, my opinion. When she was thick and had that framework, banging. Super cool. Now that she done got the OZ pack, she just look frail. She don't, you know what I'm saying? She don't look. I don't know. Just look. Maybe if she came into the game like that and then got thick, maybe. But she came into the game thick with them thighs and that frame and that bubble. You feel me? And then now she look like I don't know. To me, it don't look proper. Yeah. Get the fuck out of it. The Bates Motel dude is a doctor for real? Nah, you bullshitting. Nah, you jack. No. You toss it. Nah, you fucking up. You tripping. Nah, you on bullshit. Even I know you don't be bullshitting. So he really has no, he can't really have the thing because he's an actor. You can't have that as an actor. That Ozempic got folks looking wow. The Ozempic pack, yeah, dog. Her body used to be cold. Her body on the show, yeah. On the show he does. Her body used to be cold. Her face looked full, like she just looked like her skin used to glow. She looked good, like full figure. You know, she looked healthy. Nice little tick thing, you know what I'm saying, and take home. But now she don't look proper. To me. That's my opinion. Oh, Big Bang Theory, they all doctors. Oh shit. Except for the Kukos girl. I don't think she a doctor, bro. Maybe all the nerds on the show is doctors. Shout out to the nerd gang. The Kardashians. Beef, I'm telling you. Yeah, people getting fucked over like that. Yeah, she's the actor. Yeah, but I believe that. That I could believe. Yeah, Ozempic got lawsuits out the ass. That shit happened March. They started getting lawsuits in March or something like that. They getting their boots smoked right now. But you see, too, that's the thing about human beings, right? The same way they run down to Miami, the same way they run to LA and get sleeping gas and get hawked up with the blade, right? And they go from they go from being 150, you know, little slim thick to coming out looking like they 180 with some double G's, you know what I'm saying, and looking like a Bug's Life. You smell me? Why not just go work out? If you had some issues going on, why not go work out? Right? And tone up and get things working in the right direction. It's the same way they went to the OZ pack, right? To lose weight, and the OZ pack dirty. So now they're dealing with those complications to the point where the complications so bad they got to get it's a lawsuit. What actress am I talking? The one from Big Bang Theory, Kelly Kuko. Let's type in Kelly CUC and it should show up. Double Jesus crazy. Yo, on the gang, G, I promise you. Like if you want a lift, I could get a lift. That makes sense, right? Maybe even a little, a little work. I get it. They just too low. That I could comprehend. But the BBL and all that, like the stomach getting snatched out, transfers into it. Come on, dog. It's just dangerous, bro. And people going and doing that, and then a couple of days later they gone. They sitting with Allah. Come on, G. Now it's Ozempic. So in both directions, shit fucked off. It's not that both directions fucked up. The choices they making to get the results that they want in either direction, right? They making bad decisions to get the results that they want. When it just takes some hard work, right? You want to lose your tummy? It's going to take work, right? You want to tighten up your legs and put some and make your ass turn into a little bubble frame. It's going to take work. But they go through these drastic things because they want it to be so fast and they want it right now because it's the microwave world we live in, right? Everything you want to eat, you could pop it in a microwave. So then life becomes the same fucking pattern. Your phone is an information microwave. The grocery store is a food microwave, right? Now medicines are fucking now health, and that wouldn't be health. That'll be what health. I mean, it'll fall in the health and wellness category, I think. Now that's pretty much microwave work too. Ozempia make you lose it. A BBL will make you get some. Come on with the game, bro. So you noticed they started with that. Yeah. Yep. It comes on. Yep, it comes on adverts. I saw those. They need to just put the fork. That too. Even that too. Discipline stuff, right? Stuff that like a little bit more disciplined in some areas, yeah. But slide in, G. We rolling.
Or atypical autism. It usually involves more sociological and behavioral associated deviations, and is a rather less studied type of autism. Another level-based classification is done by the clinicians on the basis of the severity of the symptoms, with level 1 autistics requiring minimal clinical support, level 2 requiring mediocre clinical support, and the level 3 autistics requiring maximum clinical support. No matter the type of autism, the symptoms start to manifest within the first 3 years after birth. As hopeless as it may seem, there is no substantial cure for autism. Right. Physicians sometimes recommend antidepressant medications with physical and mental training sessions for the autistics to adapt to the normal world, but none of these therapies have shown 100% efficiency. In my opinion, autism is just a different way to perceive our reality. We just process the stimuli around us differently than others, and that can be a promising statement to develop an efficient therapy to treat severe forms of autism. A team at UCLA is already working on this project, where they have seen that just by changing the stimuli of observable reality, the autistic...
Yeah, why they play my man like that in the cartoon? Look. They gonna play my man, G. Watch. They fucked up for this, G. Said dragonfly. You see it? My man looking at the picture. It said dragonfly.
Around us differently than others, and that can be a promising statement.
Why they make my man say Cessna? He could have said bird. My man said Cessna. That's a fucking plane. A Cessna's a small plane. M Love, what up, G? Yo, why they really fucked them over, G.
To develop an efficient therapy to treat severe forms of autism. A team at UCLA is already working on this project, where they have seen that just by changing the stimuli of observable reality, the autistic features can be normalized. So you see, we're not sick or have a disease.
Girls, they fucked up for that, though. They could have at least made it an animal, right? They could at least made it an animal. How they make the cartoon dude fucked off? They could have made it they could have made it a bird. They could have made it a butterfly. They could have made it dog. They went to they said Cessna. Logic, chill, yo. Logic, stop. Stop. Yo, they made it. Yo, if it was a real person, I wouldn't laugh because I really would think the person is really going through that, right? This is a cartoon, dog. You have all the control. You have all the creative control in this shit. Oh, whenever somebody get a chance to be an asshole, bro. They get a chance to fix. Give me 1 second. Oh, yes, that's not. Oh shit. Oh. Oh shit. Fuck. Yo. Rolling.
We're just different. And I believe that whatever makes you different makes you special. And I believe that I have been bestowed with this amazing gift called autism. Think I'm crazy? If you are autistic, just ask yourself, how many times have your anti-boredom painting turned out to be a masterpiece? How many times the instrument you play just to calm yourself has mesmerized the others around you? Moreover, how many times have you raised your hand and solved a problem that others can only dream of solving? Don't believe me yet? Some autistics have superpowers in the form of savant syndrome, in which they can do supercomputerized calculations in their minds, like guessing the exact day on a specific date 1,000 years from now. In other cases, they have a super strong short and long-term memory.
Remember we talked about that savant syndrome? The context we talked about it was people having TBIs and the brain rewiring itself, and then end up with these savant syndrome skills. Kofa, dog, they had all the creation liberty in the world, bro. They had free range to do. That's what the fuck they chose to do, dog. Come on, bro. That's some asshole shit. That's some asshole shit. For real. Oh, fuck. That's gonna fuck with me all night, bro. That's gonna fuck with me all night. It is.
Due to which they can memorize numerous facts, patterns, and details with clinical precision. Still don't believe me? Do you know what relates Isaac Newton, Mozart, Charles Darwin, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein? It's autism. Yeah, you heard me right. They're observed to be showing symptoms that can be closely related to Asperger's. Each and every one of them revolutionized our world in ways that were never thought before. Yes, this world is a tough place. Every day, like my autistic brothers and sisters, I have to struggle hard to pretend to be normal. Every day, there are a lot of people who remind me constantly of the failure I am as a man. Every day, I hurt a lot of people unwillingly. But still, every new day surprises me with the new talents I possess, the new frontiers I can pursue, and with every fight, I become stronger and more resilient. For all those out there like myself, stop judging yourself by what you are not, and start defining yourself by what you are. Remember, it is your imperfections that make you what you are. And you are amazing. You have the power to make this life a beautiful adventure. Those who try to imprison you by their so-called standards of perfection are just ignorant, and it is our responsibility to educate them. For those who have people like me around them, hug them whenever they panic. Hugs give us a sense of abundance and fulfillment, and is scientifically proven to calm autistics. From me to all the autistics around the world, I feel your pain, and I accept you all for who you are, because I have embraced myself for what I am. If being abnormal makes me special, then this abnormality is a blessing. I'm an autistic, and this is my story. Suppose you are chatting with your friend in a park. He or she is talking about a topic you just cannot stand. In fact, you are not even mentally present there, and you are often not in touch with the reality. This may mean you may be suffering from a personality disorder known as schizophrenia. Symptoms include catatonia, delusion, hallucinations, lack of hygiene awareness, and much more. Schizophrenia is a personality disorder.
Let me show you the second asshole move that I kept. I don't know if y'all seen it. Why you gotta put ignorant on buddy?
You are.
Listen.
And you are amazing. You have the power to make this life a beautiful adventure. Those who try to imprison you by their so-called standards of perfection are just ignorant, and it is our
Why do you have to write ignorant on it, dog? Yo, whoever drew this cartoon is an asshole, bro. For real. Yeah, for sure. The little kid from My Wife and Kids is a genius in real. The girl? My Wife and Kids is that's what's the name of them, right? The Wayne's brother and Gina, Tisha, not Tisha Arnold. Damn, what's that lady name? Shit. Damn, what's that lady name? What's Gina name? The artist was mad. Yo, he's an asshole, bro. For real. He be getting his little sneak. Yo, something wrong with Buddy, man. Idiot savant with a yo, he put ignorant on Buddy, dog. Yo, this dude's out of control, man.
Special, then this abnormality is a blessing. I'm an autistic. This is my story. Suppose you are chatting with your friend in a park. He or she is talking about a topic you just cannot stand. In fact, you are not even mentally present there, and you are often not in touch with the reality. This may mean you may be suffering from a personality disorder known as schizophrenia. Symptoms include catatonia, delusion, hallucinations, lack of hygiene awareness, and much more. Schizophrenia is a personality disorder, which is more common in males than in females. A person with such a disorder may not care of his or her hygiene needs. For instance, rarely baths, and does not care of his or her dental hygiene. Another symptom, delusion. A person believes on unrealistic thoughts. And hallucinations is when a person sees or hears which does not exist. Another symptom, catatonia, is when the person does repetitive or purposeless overactivity as a result of his or her disturbed mental state. Symptoms of schizophrenia appear when one of the neural circuit situated in the midbrain, called substantia nigra, overproduce neurotransmitter called dopamine and disrupts the balance between secretion of dopamine and acetylcholine. The treatment of schizophrenia includes medication, antipsychotic drugs, such as risperidone, which stops the secretion of dopamine. Physical exercise is necessary to reduce catatonic effects. Still, more studies are needed to understand deeply the mechanism of a disease.
Yo, that was it. That was it. 3 most common types. I didn't know that men, subconsciously, I think I know that men did suffer from schizophrenia more. And I think it's women suffer from bipolar more, while men suffer from schizophrenia more. I think women is are bipolar. I think women they are real estate in the bipolar land. I think. Don't quote me on that one. Boom, that's that. Yeah, that cartoon dude, bro. We need to sit him down and have a talk with him. He didn't have to do it. He didn't have to go the extra route. He didn't have to. But shout out to him anyway. All right, last video, right? And this is the final link in the chain. Well, second to last link in the chain. Last link in the chain will be up top with us. But this month is self-deletion, right? Awareness. And self-deletion is something I take extremely serious. I've lost brothers to them just removing themselves from I've lost brothers. I've lost brothers removing themselves from this dimension, right? Voluntarily self-removal, right? And this month is the where they tend to show awareness. But I get it why they have months and stuff. But when it comes to life in itself, it should be an everyday thing. So to all the families that suffering from a lost one who decided to voluntarily move themselves, right, from the survey, from our lives, etc., etc. I know the pain. I know I know the selfish feeling that's set upon you, Roddy. FDNHT. I call it self-checkout. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we got to use different terms. Absolutely, bro. We have to use different terms. We have to use different terms, especially up here in digital world, right? In virtual land. The other half, the FDNHT, is in the town square. What up, my boy? Peace, love, power, and prosperity. You know how we get down. But I hope comfort comes to everybody who's lost somebody in that fashion, right? I hope comforts come to the family and the people who are still here that kind of holding on to. They kind of holding the torch in a sense, you know. They kind of holding on to the memories. I went through the selfish phases of like, why you didn't just, or I'm just, and I had to stop and I had to get out my way about those type of thoughts because I could only see it from my perspective, right? That's how I know I was being selfish about it. Some people just get into the spiral, and they spiral so fast that when it grips them, they can't see a way out of it. Then there's some people that make that decision for other reasons, which I've also experienced. And I constantly say, man, it's worth living, right? Being here is always worth living. Because there's so much things that we actually like. Look how many times we laughed today, right? Look how many times we done cussed and carried on and laughed and seen people that we haven't seen in the weekend, or seen people that we ain't seen in a week, or whatever the case is. Like, talk to somebody you haven't spoken to in a while, or however it goes. It gets difficult, especially when we talk about the things that we constantly are being inundated with when it comes to these assholes that running around clapping shit up like it's GTA constantly, right? It's something that's extremely difficult to tell people to hold a faith and hold a line, and right, no mercy, no quarter, right? Give them nothing and take everything, right? It's hard. Those are the hardest times to ever try to give somebody a pep talk. It's very fucking hard, man. But I still stand resolute to what I say. It's always worth being here. As much times that we feel like we're alone, right? I'm a lone wolf type person. I'm very much a lone wolf type person. I very much do a lot of my things that I do by myself. I do it in here, right? But I know I'm not alone at the end of the day. I know I could call somebody. And just having that kinship, my brothers that I could call, that I have in my back pocket, that stand shoulder to shoulder with me when it's time to battle. Whether I need them to talk to me so I could battle internally, or it's external and we got to go jump in the 4-door Honda, right? With baseball bats, that is what it is. The reality is, when you start spiraling, it takes 15 minutes. From what I've researched, it takes 15 minutes from the time the spiral starts to the spiral ending, and you become completely out of it. It's just those 15 minutes are extremely crucial. Yeah, crucial 15 minutes. God damn it, Roddy. Yeah, Kofa. Exactly. Yeah. Temporary issue. Exactly, G. Exactly. And it's just, and I get it. I completely understand how it's just, you can't see that light at the end of the tunnel. You can't see it. Everything is just so compressed at that time that becomes the resort to relieve that type of pressure, right? And I believe it's either 10 to 15 minutes. Once you make it through those 10 to 15 minutes, dog, clear sailing. That is extremely, that's a good way to put it too. That's an extremely permanent decision to make for a problem that's temporary. A problem that could be solved with just a few resources too, right? And it's always worth being here, dog. It's always worth being here. Right? My dog stands shoulder to shoulder to it. Yeah, my dog stands shoulder to shoulder with me, dog. I know I'm not alone, G. I know that. I'm not worried about ever being alone. But my personality type, right? I have an architect mind. So a lot of things I do, I construct them in here. I construct things in here because my brain is the brain of an architect. So I tend to need a lot of quiet time or tend to be by myself. And my brain is always functioning on something. My brain is always pulling stuff together, pulling them apart. Right. And it doesn't have to be, let's say, architectural structure, just thought structure. That's why I could come up here and relay something in the way I can relate, because my brain is breaking it down and trying to build it and make it linear and make it smooth. You smell me? Roddy, I know you got me, dog. I have no issue or no worry about any of that shit, dog. You know that when I was there, it was so deep in it. Like at the end of the tunnel was a train. Yeah, bro. I know what you're talking about, bro. I know what you're talking about, dog. I know what you're talking about. I'm glad to be here too, G. Because it takes literally 2 seconds. Takes 2 seconds. One to rack it and one to eat it. And I'm glad I made the right decision. You hear me? Every day I get to see my kid, right? Every day I go to work and I come home and I pick my kid up from school and I go through these emotions, dog, that is not on the front. But I know deep down inside, I feel good about being in the position that I'm in, raising my kid daily and providing, teaching, giving advice and being the parent in her life, because there's a lot of motherfuckers that don't man the helm, right? A lot of motherfuckers that think that their kids are bills when bills are your fucking business and children are your responsibility. And I'm glad I'm here every day to take care of my responsibility, dog, and then see the fruits that of my labor and see the fruits of her labor too. Right? Report cards, extracurricular activities, right? And sometimes her just being this the weirdest shit ever, dog. Sometimes when she accomplishes something and her smile, her joy makes me happy. You feel me? It's like, the fuck am I happy for? I didn't do it. But it's something that's like, it's ether. It's like it's ether fibers. It's like the fibers and it's ether, right? Can't fucking see, can't smell it. And it's real. You know it's there, right? Because you respond to something, but you don't never comprehend it. What you got, big bro? Me too. Not everyone knows what a Glock tastes like. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, doggy. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Dog, trust me, I know. The dark fucking road, bro. But every day, dog, every day, I just wake up and say thank you, dog. For real. Most times I don't stop and have a long prayer, dog, but Most mornings I wake up and I say thank you. Deep breath and I say thank you. That's it. Almighty know I'm talking to him, right? Almighty know I'm grateful, dog. Almighty know that I know that it's stuff to do today and it's more stuff to do tomorrow. I know they say, I know I was supposed to be here, so I know I did the right thing and I made the right decision at that time when the walls closed in and everything collapsed on me, right? I know I made the right decision. I wish some of my brothers did too. But that's just me being selfish again, right? Wait until you have a grandchild and you really appreciate life. All right, cool. I wish some of my brothers, dog, let that 10, 12, 15 minutes, you know what I'm saying, of that fucking hurricane and that tundra ride. I really do. I miss y'all, dog. I do. I'm gonna never not love you. I'm gonna never judge you. I won't. Smell me? One love to y'all. One love to your families. Everybody who's experienced this, gone through it, knows it. I pray comfort to your heart and peace to your minds.
Ending your life feels like the only way to find relief. Not because you truly want to, but because your struggles feel unbearable and you're tired of everything. You just want to be okay. And that is okay. Maybe you're ready to give up, but a part of you keeps holding on, and that's why you're here. Whether you're grieving, depressed, in a toxic relationship, feeling unfulfilled, or facing financial challenges, battling suicidal thoughts is a testament to your inner strength. It may seem impossible to believe right now, but there's a way out of this. And it's not in death. It's in life. Yes, there's hope. Here's how you can overcome suicidal thinking. Acknowledge the truth about your pain. A study found that many people with suicidal thoughts perceive their pain as permanent and unending. However, those who overcome these feelings often learn to view their pain differently. In 3 words, your pain is valid, temporary, and manageable, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. Accepting this truth can help you prevent irreversible decisions. It may seem like your suffering outweighs your strength to cope, but remember that strength can grow with time, support, and healthy coping strategies. Create a safety plan. A study in the Journal of Affective Disorders found that individuals with a structured coping plan were 30% more likely to navigate suicidal crises effectively. Here's how to create one. S, safety. Remove any objects that can be physically harmful. Contact numbers for therapists, supportive friends, or crisis hotlines. A, activity. A list of immediate actions to step out and for relaxation. For example, walking, listening to calm music, being around nature, or deep breathing exercises. F, favorites. Joyful memories or hobbies to engage in. E, engagement. Keep this list handy and ask yourself, what would help me right now? Or what has helped me before? This could involve journaling, reaching out to someone, or just permitting yourself to rest without feeling guilty for your emotions. Create space between thoughts and actions. When everything feels overwhelming and you can't muster the strength to follow your safe plan, activate your plan B. When these thoughts arise, give yourself 24 hours to pause and promise not to act on any drastic thoughts. During this period, remind yourself, I feel this now, but it won't always be this way. Try to ground yourself by squeezing an ice cube or taking on a small task, like tidying up a small corner around you. This gentle distraction can ease your mind. A study in psychological science found that brief breaks significantly reduce rumination and help restore emotional balance. By stepping back, you allow those temporary feelings to subside, making it easier to think clearly again. Identify the roots of your struggle. It's tough to make sense of it all, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. But it's tougher when you try to do it yourself. Talking to a mental health professional can be incredibly valuable in this process. They can help you better understand your feelings and identify the situations or underlying thoughts or imbalances contributing to your distress. You can gradually connect the dots between your current emotions and underlying issues. When you begin to understand the why behind your distress, you can start to change how you respond to each one of them. Practice cognitive restructuring. Research in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology shows that individuals who actively challenge negative beliefs experience a significant reduction in suicidal thoughts. For example, counter the thought, "I'm a burden," with the truth, "My loved ones want me here." And it doesn't matter if you initially believe it or not. Just practice this regularly. Another helpful strategy is to write down joyful memories and positive affirmations, keeping them visible as reminders whenever negative thoughts arise. Clear your mental clutter. Our mind is a battlefield where negative thoughts like, "I'll never feel better," constantly clash with hopeful reminders like, "There's still hope." This tug of war can be so exhausting. The overwhelming nature of the mental struggle is what often leads to people giving up. Instead of keeping the struggle inside, take it outside, onto paper. Writing down your thoughts offers clarity and relief, providing a much-needed mental break. Studies show this practice can reduce mental overload and help create a more manageable mental space. Connect with supportive people. Asking for help can feel hard, especially if you're worried about being a burden. But isolation often makes hopelessness worse. Studies show that individuals who receive support from caring friends, family, or therapists experience a notable reduction in distress and cope better with tough times. You don't have to share everything. Just saying, "I'm going through a rough time and could use some support," or "Could you stay with me for a bit?" can be enough. It's okay if you're too worn out to open up. It doesn't have to be a deep conversation. Just make the call and hang in there. Your life matters. I promise it does. By letting someone in, you can feel less alone and more supported. Replace self-criticism with self-compassion. Self-criticism only adds to the emotional burden. Instead of judging yourself, gently remind yourself that it's okay to feel this way. For example, instead of thinking, "I should be stronger," remind yourself that I'm learning and growing stronger every day. I'm proud of the progress I've made. When you feel like you're failing, try, "I'm facing challenges, but each step brings me closer to my goals." Progress isn't always linear. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," try, "This is tough, but I've faced hard things before, and I will get through this too." And if you think, "I don't deserve this," reframe it to, "I deserve kindness and care, especially from myself. I'm doing the best I can with what I have." Avoid drugs and alcohol. Research by Fisher and others shows that drugs and alcohol can intensify suicidal thoughts. Alcohol slows brain function, making it harder to think clearly, while many drugs can trigger anxiety and mood swings. Studies show that when you're under the influence, you're more prone to impulsive choices that may increase emotional pain. However, if you're struggling with addiction, you're not alone. Asking for help is a courageous step. Reaching out to professionals or supportive people can provide the guidance you deserve. Healing is possible, and every small step counts, even just being here right now. Let's do a quick exercise. Imagine a future where your current pain holds less power over you. It's a beautiful thought, right? That's exactly what your future holds. Overwhelming emotions are fluid. They shift and change, just like the weather. How you feel now will not last forever. So don't let the heavy thoughts steal your chances at the joy and relief that lay ahead. With time and support and these helpful practices, healing is not just possible, it's waiting for you. So hold on to hope. The best is yet to come. What does a brighter future look like for you? Share your hopes and feelings in the comments below. To learn more, watch our video on the psychology of suicidal thinking and 7 signs your friend might be suicidal.
Like over say, back on me, back on me. We're not living in My Little Pony land. We're living a real fucking life every day. Every day we live a real life. And every day we experience a variety of emotions and a variety of experiences and a variety of events. Those things that you experience today, you should want to experience them again tomorrow. We go through things. But obviously I mean the positive things, right? The events, not the salacious, grimy bullshit, right? The simplest things that we look forward to are great things, right? Going fishing, seeing your kid, going on your Sunday drive to get ice cream and sit down by the lake. Those are great memories that you're building. You know what I mean? Don't you ever in your life be too grown to ask for help. Don't ever be too grown to say, I just don't know. Don't ever be too grown to just simply say, hey, I'm not in a good spot. Don't. Trust me, don't. That single moment of humility goes a long way. And you'll be surprised the people that are rally just to make sure that you're okay. You'll be surprised. You will be. Right? I don't want to take away from the video. I thought the video was extremely good. I want to play that last part one more time, right before we roll out. But to everybody, Kofa, appreciate you for sharing that, man. Those things aren't easy things to share, right? They're not everyday topics. Furthermore, they're topics that are not taboo, but they're very private topics. They're very much so things that you want to hold close to your chest, right? But for people like me and you that have been exactly in that spot where those 12 minutes, right, became so heavy that you were thinking about those 2 seconds to remove all the stress and all the pain, and everything else will be fucking fine. Because guess what? If I'm here, I don't have to deal with it. The fact that we've been that close to it, smelt it, know what it feels like. You feel it in your skin, you feel it in your brain, your everything is just tossed in the wind. And you know, in 2 seconds, you could change all of this. The fact that we've been so close to that line is probably why we should talk about our story, bro. To let people know that something like that, one, it's not uncommon for men, especially men that function, men that are functioning men, men that are responsible. A lot of men that have responsibility and a lot of men that are functioning really make that decision. And it's because we function. It's because we comprehend things. We comprehend it in such a fucked off way. We end up saying, guess what? I can relieve all this pressure, all this stress, all the strain. My BMs don't like me. My daddy ain't shit. My mom just took the bread out of my bank account. My wife cheating on me. My boss is a motherfucking Ross's. My car engine light just went on. My baby needs motherfucking diapers, and I swear to God, I just bought some fucking diapers last week. The fucking bread got mold on it. The reason we think, cause we are so good at looking at things and analyzing them, we run into this pocket where it's just like, yo, fuck it. I don't want to be a burden to anybody else. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to inundate nobody. I don't want to press down on nobody. I will just fuck it. I'm leaving. It's because we think so high functioning sometimes, most times, because we think so linear, that when we think in linear like that, the end, the 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1, when we get to 10, 10 is saying, yo, let me get the fuck up all out of here, bro. Let me volunteer myself to remove myself from the senses. And that's a fucked up thought process. So maybe we need to talk about these things amongst ourselves. Not me and you personally, but talk about it a little bit more. So people know that they're not alone, that they're not the only ones feeling this type of way. They are the only ones that have walked that path. You smell me? We know people that have completely successfully finished that mission. To see it. Yeah, exactly. That's like, yep, exactly, G. Exactly. Especially when we know people that have successfully completed that mission. And we get a chance to see the effect of it, of how it ripple affects. It has a ripple effect. We get to see the effect of it on how people receive that type of information, or how people, how it falls upon people when they hear about it. I've seen it. I've experienced it myself. Not just witnessed it, but I've seen it myself. I mean, I've felt it myself, not just seen it. And Reaper, I think you're absolutely right, dog. One is too much. One is just too much, bro. One is too much. And you know what, Cole, for this would be a good topic for us to put scribble down for the general discussion, right? When the generals sit down at the table. This would be a good topic we could bring back up and hash it again. But I'm gonna find this piece right here. Then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna close it out. And then we're gonna say our good nights, our salutations, you heard? If it's back on me, right? When you say back on me, back on me. If you send it out, what's that? It's back on it's back on y'all. Let's go me. Back to the big screen. You mean it'll be good exchange? Absolutely, my boy. Absolutely. Easy day. Consider it done.
Size. Imagine a future where your current pain holds less power over you. It's a beautiful thought, right? That's exactly what your future holds. Overwhelming emotions are fluid. They shift and change, just like the weather. How you feel now will not last forever.
That'll work.
So don't let the heavy thoughts steal your chances at the joy and relief that lay ahead. With time and support and these helpful practices, healing is not just possible, it's waiting for you. So hold on to hope. The best is yet to come. What does a brighter future look like for you? Share your hopes and feelings in the comments below. To learn more, watch our video on the psychology of suicidal thinking and 7 signs your friend might be suicidal. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for holding on.
Absolutely. What does a brighter future look like for you? Yo, this is the FDNHT, humble host, TRIN, aka Flaco Fuerte, Granny's baby, the real McCoy, numero uno, whichever you choose. But he and I is him. Thank you for hanging out tonight. Thank you for enjoying the chain thought process that we went through tonight. Thank you for being there and having the hard conversations, for standing up, right? And hearing this information that you could share with somebody else. Being aware of the life and the scenarios that we live in, that we can reach our hand out to somebody in need. It's not that you pussy. Not that you weak. Compassion has never been a weak thing. Don't let nobody tell you no different. Having compassion for human life has never been a weak thing. You heard me? I tell you all the time. It's a love thing. And I mean that shit. It's absolutely a love thing. Are y'all difficult? Hell yeah, y'all difficult. Y'all some hard-headed asshole motherfuckers. But that's just what it is, dog. I was shown compassion. I was raised with compassion. So I show compassion. Compassion is a sign of strength. Remember, nice men don't have compassion. Good men have compassion. Always be a good man, G. From FDNHT, you know it's a love thing. 365, 24/7. Peace, power, and prosperity. The village gang, you already know what time it is. Every time we step up in here, have no fears, number of friends and family up in here. Generals, shots and bears, ladies, just kick up your feet, relax your hair. And only because you're fine, you can have a nice, simple glass of wine. Maybe 2, but only this time. This thing called life, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Remember, you train every single day like the marathon is absolutely tomorrow. Love yourself so you love the people that surround you, and always take care of yourself so you can take care of the people that is around you. Y'all already know. I see y'all soon. To the moon.